Yeah, man, we're doing it live once again. Welcome back to hashtag Real Race Talk on your Monday. I mean, Monday, this is what you live for right here. It is the Revved Up Sports Show as we do it once again, off for a week. Took a little bit of a week off there just to give you guys a little idea of what you miss when we're not here. I actually had people that messaged me and said, hey, y'all quit? I'm like, no, I can't quit. Bobby won't let me. Welcome back in Showtime. Bobby Chaffee's down south. I'm Rodney Rodriguez up north. Another weekend. And I can tell you one thing, Bobby, from being out and about this weekend, it was nice and it was cool. It was cool, man. We're into that time of year to where it finally freaking feels nice to be out and about in these parts.
You only got to wait another month for the cold to start hitting. Usually that first weekend in October, when we used to have Oktoberfest at San Antonio Speedway, you come down and sweat balls on Friday night, and then about 2 o'clock in the morning when you're enjoying your adult beverages after the races were over, boom, there comes the cold front. End up having to be bundled up the next night on Saturday night for the conclusion of Oktoberfest. So that's how I always judged the weather, was based upon when the weather was going to blow through right around Oktoberfest. So we got really lucky a lot of those years. So it's coming. I mean, a cooler day is a cooler day. I noticed it when I was taking the trash back in this afternoon that it was considerably cooler at 3 o'clock than it normally is. So,
Yep. Not necessarily a bad thing for it to cool off just a little bit. And we welcome all of you guys in, whether you are on Facebook or Twitter, on and whatever source that you're finding it, whether it be RevvedUpSportsShow.com, RevvedUpSportsShow.tv, on the socials of our channel, of course, with Race On and Racing America. There's lots of different ways to consume all of this nonsense that we're going to be having for you guys tonight. And just a little bit of preview of what's coming up. 6:45, we're going to talk to this is a kid that's got some really big things that are happening for him right from the area. Alex Karpowicz will join us. We'll talk with him about something really cool that's coming up with him. Very accomplished. Then right around 7:10, we'll talk to Jennifer Ashlin, because we really do want to push that San Antonio race reunion. I think that's really important that we get that in front of people. 7:35, Ray Allen Kulhanek will join us and talk about Kennedale, the big win down there for him. And then at 7:50, 10 of the hour of 8 o'clock, we talk to JD Legg, who jumps in. Really cool story how he got that ride and wins in Houston in a truck. So we'll dive into all that. So Bobby, your thoughts on the weekend, man? There were a lot of things going on. The cool was one thing. I know that this was very a football heavy weekend, but I like this time of year. I really like this time of year for a lot of reasons, but racing kind of calms down just a little bit, but the racing that you have is a really, really big deal.
Yeah, usually it's kind of a hit or miss for me, because generally the start of football season means racing season's almost over. Maybe so much as a local level for your weekly shows and bi-weekly shows, right? Because of the fact that, now your NASCAR stuff, yeah, they hit the first round of the playoffs at Atlanta and it was a decent race. And, Kyle Larson stepped on it again when it blew a tire, hit the wall.
Man, that was a hell of a shot, wasn't it?
It was a hell of a shot. And then, of course, Chase Briscoe gets caught up in it too. But, I mean, it's always the catch-22 this part of the year, because your points races are coming to a close. And then, you start getting, but at the same time, you're getting a little excited and getting ready for big money races for big money season. I've already had a couple of them, the big money races there at Arklatex for the King of the Hill and some of the other races. But now you're starting to get into great big money season. You got Mod Wars coming up for $50K to win there at Heart of Texas. Got a couple of big shows. Got a big World of Outlaw late model show coming to Rocket. And so you've got a lot of stuff coming here in the next couple of weeks. So be ready. Yeah, football's back. Football's important unless you have DirecTV and can't watch any of it. But then just keep your ears and eyes open, because there's a lot of cool stuff happening coming up here in the next couple of weeks. About the next 6 weeks, you're going to have something that's going to excite you one way or the other when it comes to racing.
That's right. Cut the cord, man. Cut the cord. I saw everything that went on this weekend once I was able to get back home, and really cool stuff. I actually thought that the place, I know that everything going on at KRP, and we'll talk about that race, obviously, with Ray Allen Kulhanek. But, I mean, I was going back in and with my race pass, and we'll talk about them later. I thought that it really seemed like Hunt County seemed like they had a hell of a show. Our man Kason Caps, who's been on the show a couple of times, he was on just a couple of weeks ago, the winner there in the Junior Limiteds. You look at the Outlaw Modifieds, that was a loaded field of outlaw modifieds, and that was Jack Certain, Jason Ingalls, and Jason Certain, Troy Taylor, and then Dykus. That's your top 5 right there. And as that thing continued to roll out, then you got to the crate late models. Corey Neal Jr., Chase Raymond, Bo Knows late models finishing 3rd. It's really one of those times to where this is where you kind of look at. I mean, I know that point championships and all that stuff is really important, but I mean, it's kind of gotten to the point, Bobby, where you talk to so many guys, and it's like winning a point championship's a trophy and maybe a little bit of money. But once you get to September, that's when you start opening that cash register and start going out and chasing the shit that really counts, and that's money.
I think the guys that have raced for a long time don't race for the championships anymore. You notice the younger guys, and you're either your younger guys or you're newer to the experienced guys. The old guys that get into race cars in their mid 30s and late 20s. They're the ones that are going for the championships. They're the ones that are racing every single week. Not to say that the old veterans don't, but they realize that they've had their fun chasing championships and had their fun chasing trophies. That trophy looks good on the wall. But then big checks, cash, and you get to have a few more memories with them bigger checks. So I think that it's we're starting to see it there before when we were in the heyday of Longhorn and San Antonio Speedway back in the late 80s and early 90s. I mean, these guys were all about running for championships until you got up to like the super late models and stuff like that. Then some of them were dead focused on winning super late model championships and all pro and stuff like that. But for the most part, those guys started racing for money. They started not racing for points as much. So you start to see that as it's evolved over the course of the last 15 years, because racing is just pretty damn expensive and it's hard to race every single week.
Yeah, absolutely. And when you want to talk about old guys racing, and this is some video that I pulled, and I was got the acknowledgement here to show this video. And by the way, the show presented by AV Consultations, On Demand Shirts, Cotton Bowl Speedway. I mean, all the folks that we'll talk about throughout the night. But I got to tell you, there was something that I saw from our man, Sean Paul Lehman. That he posted from the other night at Houston. And this is, and I took the sound out of this, so hopefully we can talk as we walk. We couldn't talk during that. I was hoping that I'd be able to show that and we could kind of break that whole thing down. But that right there, and we'll show that clip a couple of different times, because that's something that I want our folks to chime in and talk about when it comes to respect on the racetrack and the unwritten rules and all these different things. And look, I'm not here to tout the flag for Sean Paul and be mad at Patrick Villarreal. I mean, this is one of those things to where when you see stuff like that, it's like, okay, who's right, who's wrong? And these are some veteran guys that are out there going at it right there. And that just kind of tells you how gung-ho these guys are about racing right now.
Well, I think that it comes down to, you only got a few more races to go there at the Palace of Power and at the HEP Oval. So I really think that, now, we've both been there, right? When you get towards the end of the year, you're starting to remember all the guys that cut you off, all the guys that wouldn't cut you a break. You got to remember that towards the end of the year, because I always said race car drivers are like elephants. They don't forget shit. And so they remember just the most little bitty detail. I mean, you've been there, I've been there. Somebody cut you off, you're ready to get them back. Somebody spun you out and you need to get them back. So you only have a few chances left when you get a chance to do that towards the end of the season. And not saying that was the case on this point, but it just looked like it was kind of extracurricular there, because I don't think the rules that we grew up with in racing is not the same rules that are out there now. It's not. You don't have the knock, who's there, hit him once, hit him twice, third time, get the hell out of the way. It's now hit him once, get him the hell out of the way, and move on.
Yep.
You don't have that gentleman's agreement. Knock, boom, third time, I'm going to move your ass. You don't have the common courtesy of being in the door in the line anymore. It's like, I'm in front of you, so I have the line regardless of where the hell you're at, whether you're at the door, the quarter pound of the wheel, or the bumper, right? So it's just like you say all the time. It's like the way that we used to race has totally changed, and it's starting to show. and it shows up all the time, not just here, not just around the country, but everywhere on every level.
Yeah.
From the big boys at the Cup Series all the way down to the local guys racing Bandoleros and legend cars.
And one of the conversations that we always hear is that especially after like the Austin Dillon thing, to where it's like people look up to those people and they're doing that. I mean, no, it's not that. I mean, it's not that. It's very much what you just said. It's a different mindset. But what I want to talk about with these two gentlemen, and I'm going to show this again. I'm going to show this one more time. And what you have right there, I mean, that's two. I mean, that's two veterans. I mean, that's two guys that have done it for a long time. That comes down to that, and that's lap one. That is lap one. I think that's the one thing that I left out of all of this. To where it's like, if you look at this, and I'm not going to say the drivers' names again because I think we all figured out who they are, but the car that we're riding with has the line, and the car on the outside kind of jumps out there. I mean, you take a deep run in there. When I call a race, I call that a bonsai drive, and you take that big run. But then when you start pinching down a little bit, I mean, that's the whole thing. I mean, if you're gonna be balls on the wall and do that, I mean, fine, go and then pivot yourself out. And then at the other side of the track, when you pinch down again, I mean, the guy's right there. And I saw some folks talking about, well, the inside car was at the door. Whatever the case is right there, I'm not going to argue that point. But my point is, when you turn down on somebody, you're going to get turned. You're going to get turned. I mean, that's a bottom line, man. You got to drive these things. Again, the unwritten rules. I mean, unwritten rules. All the unwritten rules were broken in this scenario right here, if you ask me.
Well, I think there's only so low you can go when you're on the inside line, especially at a place like Houston, because all you're going to do when you get lower is it flattens out. If you've ever been to Houston, once you get to that underneath that low groove, it is not perfectly flat, but it's relatively flat.
You're coming
all
off
you're
the
gonna, all you're going to do when you come off the banking, you're just going to slide straight, right? It's an inevitable contact any way you go, because if the inside car goes any lower, they're just going to shoot back up on the racetrack and end up left rearing somebody because there's not enough room down there. Mm-hmm. That's just the way that physics work. When you go off the banking onto the flat, you're not going to be able to carry you're not going to be able to control your speed when you hit that flat apron right there. So I mean, it looked like it was going to be an inevitable crash. It's just amazing that that's lap one versus lap 29 or however many laps they were running. So it's not a lot of give and take right there in the beginning.
Yeah, and this is not a discussion to bitch at these guys or talk about pavement racing or whatever. I mean, because we see this all the time. I mean, it's all the different surfaces. I mean, where this kind of stuff happens. And when you look at because Houston, for example, I mean, if that happens in a modified, if you're in the car with the camera and you see the guy's going to come down on lap number one, you can kind of drop down there onto the flat part of the track, and a modified, a truck. I mean, if you had a Pro Late model, that car's going to let you drop down because you're going to drop down and the weight's going to transfer and do all these different things. In one of these stock cars, it's not. I don't give a shit if it's a factory stock or a bootlegger. I mean, if you drop down, you're going to spin out and you're really going to take them out. I mean, that wreck would have been a lot worse if the car with the camera would have gone down onto the flat like you're talking about. But I mean, this just goes down to that whole racing courtesy thing. I think that was way too aggressive that early in the race in a small field. And what really sucked about this, Bobby, you weren't there for this, but what really sucked is you didn't have a lot of cars. I think of those two that were watching, if they'd have been able to race this thing out, man, that would have been a hell of a race. That would have been a hell of a race.
Yeah, it's just a shame when you have a smaller field, and you got to think though. A lot of times when you have those small fields, you can get good races out of a couple of cars. It only takes 2 cars to make a really good race, whether it's 2 cars or 4 cars or 100 cars. But I also think that you got to mind your P's and Q's when you're if you're in a small field. Giving up a spot on the start is not necessarily the end of the world.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and we'd love the comments, whether you're on the YouTube chat or Facebook chat or revvedupsportshow.com. Feel free to jump in there. And this is again, and I purposely did this because this is where when we start, for the folks that always want to talk about what's going on, when we throw this out, we get a lot of chatter, we get a lot of comments, just talking about general stuff. But when it's like, okay, put yourself in those spots, you guys, the watchers and listeners and everybody else, when it's like, okay, what would you do? What's wrong about this? That seems to be where folks don't want to say anything. And this is an open platform. If you post something there that's negative to either one of those cars, we're not going to throw it up there, not going to talk about it. But I mean, there's your chance. I mean, how'd you see that? How did you see that?
Yeah, I think it's just one of those now. Now it's kind of like when you do open phone lines, right? Everybody wants to say, I'll call you, and then boom, when you go to open phone lines, it's crickets.
Yeah.
Probably going to be that way tonight. Nobody really want to take a stand. You can always text us. There's a text line too if you don't want to end up having your name and comment showed up there on the bottom. But yeah, you can always text us your thoughts if you don't want to be revealed. So it's there's multiple ways to get your opinion across, even though if you don't want to be recognized on the screen or not. So the multiple ways to get a hold of us to give us your opinion and your hot take on the topic of the week.
Yeah, that's the whole thing. I mean, there's a lot of different ways to where you guys can tell us exactly what you're thinking. So if you don't want to, and the whole thing is like, if you send something over, I mean, we're not going to tell folks, hey, Joe Blow said this. I think one of the biggest things that when I talk to people is that they mention, I'm a promoter, I'm a tech guy, I'm a whatever. And man, I love the topics that you guys talk about, but I don't want to comment. I don't want people to see that. And that's why we have that text line right there, because you can jump in and throw over whatever you're thinking about. But kind of back to that weekend there at Hunt County, it was Bo Begno with the third place run. American Crate Late Models, little Robbie Starnes wins that race. So, I mean, it tells you that I really wish, with the late models, I really wish that the late models could get a run down here, down south. And I totally understand the fact that it really does seem like for the late models, everything is up north. But man, if we could find a way to incorporate these South tracks, with the American Crate Late Model Series, I think that would be something to where it's, we talk about things that can kind of blow up and things that can kind of, set their mark. Man, late models right now, 37 has them. And when 37 runs them, you usually have a pretty damn good car count. But man, this is the one where I'm like, man, let's throw seeds in there. Let's throw water, dirt reference. And let's make this thing big, because there are guys and ladies that would come and run these South tracks and make the South region of the American Crate late model thing blow up. And the other part of it is, it's like, why don't we get the dates? Well, because people don't want to do it. And I think that's the bigger thing to think about.
I think it's just hard. I mean, we've tried it before with the Southern region and paid really good money on back-to-back shows, and some tracks, they try to pay the full purse, and you get 8 cars, 6 to 8 cars on a Friday night or a Saturday night. You just can't. That's not conducive. That's not conducive to good financial aspects on a racetrack. You got to have cars to pay the purse, and you got to have people in the grandstands to keep the place open. So when you don't have either, it's hard to justify spending that kind of money to bring in the late models. Sometimes we've seen late model shows. I-37, for whatever reason, has kind of the magic potion that gets those guys there. And it's kind of like, there's plenty of guys in that greater San Antonio area that have those, and you figured they would try to travel, but a lot of the guys that run late models at 37 don't travel. They're just kind of specifically wanting to only race there in Pleasanton. So nothing wrong with that. Nothing wrong with that at all. I'm not controlling somebody else's racing budget or somebody else's racing money, but if they wanted to tour, they've had opportunities to do so here in the past, in the last couple of years. And it just seems that as far as that Southern region, it just didn't happen. In that Northern region, though, that Crate Late Model North, man, they are rocking and rolling up north.
Yeah, and that's a thing, because I know, like with late models, when it comes to Mississippi and Alabama, I mean, those guys, I mean, it is something where you can find all those little hole in the wall hidden racetracks. The night that I went to Jackson Motor Speedway for the All-American 60, I'm like, God bless America. Look at this place. I mean, it's late models everywhere. And That's a good problem to have, and that's where we talk about with the differences in regions, to where it's like down here in South Texas, it seems like what we do well is on dirt is factory stocks and sport mods, limited mods. But you look at some of those other spots, and man, the late models, that's the one where I'm like, my God, come on! I mean, let's grow these things. I think it could be massive.
Yeah, I mean, I think if you go to other sections of the country, especially down in the Southeast, the Carolinas and Georgia, you got 602 crates, 604 crate late models, 602 Sportsman late models, which is like a limited late model with a crate motor in it.
Yep.
You got 4 or 5 classes of late models, just like down here, we've got 4 or 5 classes of modifieds.
Yep.
Or 4 or 5 classes of stock cars. So depending on where you go in the country, late models are big. Late models are where it's at. Not everybody can go and be the next Jonathan Davenport. Or the next O'Neal Jr. or Brandon Shepard. You're not going to be able to have that kind of run. Running from your local racetrack. Bobby Pierce is another one. So these guys are living their Saturday night dreams.
And that dude's in stock cars now. Like, come on, man. Yeah. Well, I mean, which IMCA stock cars, no problem with that. I mean, I don't necessarily see that as a moving down or anything like that, because that's a real deal. All right, let's hop on here. Our interviews tonight presented by Audio Visual Consultations. It is Tom McKay and the folks right here in Round Rock, Texas, out my way. If you're looking for the ultimate home theater system, I mean, they will come in and set your place up just like they have done right here at my place, 255-8678. It is avconsultations.com. And welcoming for the first time right here from Spring Branch, right up the road right here. And this is where I tell you, young racers, if you want to talk about yourself, and there's stuff that Bobby and I are always trying to be honed into everything that's going on, but we can't cover everything. This young guy reaches out and he's like, hey, check this resume out. I'm like, holy shit, we got to get you on here, man. It is our man, Alex Karpowicz. How you doing, sir?
I'm doing good. How are y'all doing?
Doing well, man. By the way, Smithson Valley Rangers, Smithson Valley graduate, man. Back in the old days, back when we had leather helmets in Lockhart, we used to play Smithson Valley before you guys were the 6A power that you are now. So really cool when I saw that a part of your resume right there. So for you, let's talk about, I mean, you've got something really big coming up with USAC Racing at a very storied place, but we'll get to that in just a second. Talk about what you've been doing getting up to this part.
Yeah, so I mean, I am a micro sprint racer, just north of San Antonio. I've been running micros since about 2020. So this is what I'd say kind of my 4th full-time season. Started out with kind of a limited schedule my first 2 years, and 2022, 23, and now this year with 2024 have really expanded into more of like a full season, kind of like you were saying earlier in the show, championship hunting, racing every weekend. That's kind of what I've been up to these last few years. So I've actually been able to score 2 National Open Wheel 600 championships these past 2 years, 2023 and 2022. Set up for hopefully another one this year. Things keep going our way. But yeah, we've been running micros, did the national tour in 2022, both wing and non-wing, and lately been kind of staying around home, saving up some money so we can try and expand our career into more different types of racing, like USAC and whatnot.
Absolutely.
So before we get into the USAC stuff, talk about the car itself. I mean, a lot of times it's to me, it's kind of like that dwarf car mod light effect with the 600s, right? Because everybody's like, they're so tiny, they're not race cars. No. They are full blown race cars, because if you got to get in one and spend lots of money on one, they spend money just like the big cars, and they race just like the big cars. Talk about that 600 sprint you've been running.
Yeah, so I mean, that's a very good point. We honestly get quite a bit of flack for how tiny they are. People look at them, they want to just go, hey, like that's a little go-kart. But really, I mean, they're not. Prime example, we were racing at Architect Speedway in Louisiana just a few weeks ago, and I actually set the fastest lap time of all classes there that night. We had A mods and pro mods there. So people really they like to kind of look at how small they are, say they're not, competitive, but I mean, they're fast. and yeah, like we've kind of got a restrictor class for the younger kids getting into it, but for the most part, I mean, our full-blown 600cc motors, I mean, it's guys my age, 20s, and we even got some, full-grown adults. But yeah, I mean, it's a 600cc motor. You got Suzuki, Yamaha are the two main ones. I got Yamaha. They're pretty much straight off like a Yamaha R6 crotch rocket street bike.
There it is. That's what I'm talking about. That's where all the
Yeah.
power is, right there. And
Oh yeah.
kind of talk about the other part about that, because I did dwarf cars for a while, and one of the main things that we did, because we had the 1000s, the 1100s, and all that, and so for you guys, when it comes to talk about the weight of the car, the wheelbase of the car, and all that, because I think that's what folks don't realize when it's like these cars are that small. How do they go that fast? Because it's got a lot of horsepower for a very, very, very small, short wheelbase race car.
Yeah, so I mean, our wheelbase is not that large. I'm not sure how it compares to a dwarf car, but I'd say it's probably a little smaller. But yeah, I mean, we've got like a sprint car. We got a big right rear tire. Skinny left rear really lets us drive it hard in the corner. And with me in the car, our car weighs at about 750 pounds.
Holy shit!
Yeah, so the kind of I guess, what do I want to say? The weighted
wheelbase
go blank.
Ratio. Yeah.
I even got it written down. Studying my notes, but
good.
yeah. Anyway, it's really light. So they don't have 800 horsepower like some of these other cars, like modified stuff might, but they go. We weigh very little, so we book it down the straightaway.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So Alex, talk about how that transitions into the stuff that you're going to be doing upcoming here in the next couple of weeks with the USAC stuff. Like, how much of that transitions over from the smaller 600 opens to the USAC stuff? I mean, is it a lot of the same? Obviously, power to weight's going to be similar, but yet you have a lot more horsepower and just a little bit bigger car.
Yeah, so I'll be running a midget here. The power weight ratio is actually pretty similar to like a 360 sprint car. Maybe a little more towards the 410 side, but it's actually pretty extreme. So the cars don't weigh much more. They're not much bigger than what I have, but they have almost 3 times the horsepower. So I haven't yet sat in a midget yet, but we have a test day coming up soon, so I'll get some laps in and kind of, I guess, see what the difference is. But for the most part, I would say the throttle control is going to be my biggest learning curve, because it's got so much more power and torque. You just got to be easy with that throttle, minimize your wheel spin. So that's probably going to be the biggest thing I'd say that kind of differs from a micro to a midget.
So I think the biggest part about this is, I mean, for you to make this debut right here with USAC and so forth, talk about where this is happening. I mean, it's one thing, going around racing here in Texas and within the region and traveling around, but when you're going to start your, we'll say, professional, first thing on your resume, my man, where is that going to be, for crying out loud? Of all places, where's that going to happen?
Yeah, so I'll be racing at the BC 39, which is at the dirt track in Indianapolis Motor Speedway. So it is a huge stage, a big prestigious race for USAC, one of their largest viewed races. So it's kind of a big deal. I guess a lot of people probably say, hey, start small, find some local midget race, something like that. But I kind of jumped into the deep end of the pool, but I think that's kind of quickest way to shorten your learning curve is kind of race with some of the best and see how we can perform.
No doubt.
Yeah, definitely jumping in with both feet, but that, you're right, that's probably the best way to learn it and all that with the Brian Kloss stuff. Some of the other guys that'll be there, some of your heavy hitters and sprint cars and open wheel cars. So in terms of, how did the deal come about? Is it one of those, like, we talk to young people all the time and try to have young people listen to the show and be like, mind your P's and Q's, because somebody's always watching. You never know if it's a potential sponsor, potential car owner, whatever the case may be. We always tell everybody that somebody's always watching. So how'd this deal turn out for you? Is it somebody just random that came up and said, "Hey, I like the way you drive," or somebody you know? Talk about how that deal came together for you.
So really, it's kind of something. If you want to get technical, it was really been in the works for a few months. Now the deal came together within just a few hours, but it's a lot of kind of putting yourself out there, trying to make those connections, even if it's just as simple as kind of maybe contacting them about what it takes to drive for somebody, even if it's not necessarily the team you end up driving for. Just getting your name out there. I do this full time. I used to work on a ranch and quit that about a year ago. Now I do motorsports full time, racing, try to build a career out of this. So it gives me a lot of free time to kind of, work on these type of things. But for the most part, it was just kind of sent the team a message. Mount Stout Motorsports, so top team in USAC and really just the midget world in general. And got a response back, and we just kind of went from there and worked out a deal.
Man, so Alex, is that one of those things to where, like, when that happens, I mean, do you have to have, I mean, do they ask you about sponsors in place and so forth? I mean, because I know that's a lot of when it comes to NASCAR and all that. I mean, that really drives a lot of it. I mean, the other part of that is you have the resume to back up whatever you tell them. I mean, you can call them and tell them what you've done. How does all of that work out when it comes to this aspect of racing? And sorry about the name bar. The name bar, our stupid producer got it wrong.
You're good. Yeah, so I don't know. It just I kind of just lost my train of thought.
Sorry.
You want to repeat that question? No, you're good. You're good.
No. When it comes to securing a ride like that, I mean, because a lot of it is, I know on the NASCAR side and ARCA and all that, it's a lot of folks that they come and with money and all this, that, and the other. But like for yourself to get in there, you've got a resume to back that up. I mean, is that something that the team saw and they're like, we got to get this guy, we got to get him in our fold?
So I think it definitely helps. I've actually got a pretty good example of that I can go more in depth in at a later date. The resume helps. Now I think a lot of teams, obviously funding is number one. If you can't pay for it, you're kind of out of luck. But they do look at your resume. Because you never know. I mean, you never know if there's a spot open on a team. If you're the only person that's contacting them about it, you don't know if there's 20 people contacting them about it. So, it's really something that is a valid question that I personally am interested in. I kind of want to know more about that, how much they like look into that, because I have had situations in the past where I contact somebody in the racing industry that I've never spoke to before, and they've been like, "Oh, hey, I've had my eye on you for 2 years," and I mean that's a surprising thing to me. You think you're not being watched, but you are. So with this team in particular, I mean, a resume definitely helps. It is a different car. I think a lot of team owners, you got the money, they would like to put you in their car, but nobody really wants somebody to go out there and potentially get hurt. It's almost a liability thing. Feature wins, stuff like that, that's great, but that's not always what they're looking at. They're more looking at consistency, if you're a more or less clean driver, things like that.
Absolutely.
So Alex, let's talk big picture, long term, right? So you're going into this NOS Energy stuff with the BC39 popping up with the sprint cars, or with the open wheel car, USAC cars. So what's big picture? I mean, do you want to eventually move into wing 410s, or do you want to move into IndyCar stuff like NXT Indy cars, stock cars? I mean, where if you're looking at it from a 3 to 5 year perspective, I mean, where do you want to be in that time period?
Yeah, so growing up, I think like any kid in racing, you want to be a NASCAR driver, but I'm a little too old for that. I missed that door. So my main goal is to run like 410 sprint cars, wing sprint cars. This is a great time to get into it with World Outlaws and High Limit. There's a lot of money in 410 wing sprint cars. So that is my ultimate goal, is to do that, whether it's driving for someone else, building my own team, whatever I can kind of put together. I'm trying to just take this next step into midgets and just try and get my name out there, get some seat time with a, more professional kind of field of cards, I guess. And, with some bigger names out there to try and help me get to that next step of wing sprint cars. Because, we all know, racing in general isn't cheap, but especially getting to that level, it only gets worse. So to make as many contacts as you can really is going to be a plus in my mind. So that's kind of what I'm trying to do, is just go up the ranks. People like Ryan Timms, Chase Randall, Spencer Baston, Buddy Kofoid, they all started in kind of micros and then went to midgets, and now they're all in 410 wing sprint cars as well. So that's kind of what I'm trying to do, is follow their footsteps.
Man, absolutely. So BC 39 coming up at Indianapolis, September 26th through the 28th. I think the main thing, Alex, tell folks where they can jump on and follow you, because so much of this is social media driven. You get folks that they're going to hear this and they're going to want to dive in and follow you through this journey. Throw out those socials, man, because that's what it's all about these days.
Yeah, so my Facebook is just Alex Karpowicz Racing, and my Instagram is Alex Karpowicz 72. That's just the number 72. So yeah, you can follow me along on there. I'm pretty active. I try to post every day if I can, every other day at the least, and we'll definitely have quite a bit of content coming up about the upcoming race, and while we're doing the show as well, we'll be posting plenty. And the race will be streamed on Flow Racing as well, so can tune in there and watch it all.
If it's good with you, you guys posting stuff, we will share that. I think that's going to be really cool right here on our pages. And then after it's done, let's get a recap. I want to hear about the whole experience, man. I think it'll be great.
All right. Yeah, well, I greatly appreciate y'all sharing. Anyone out there who's watching this, follows along. Shares are always positive, always encouraged. We're trying to, like I said, get my name out there, so anybody who sees it, that's a plus to me. So I got no problem with shares. I love them.
Yeah.
And we could definitely come back on after. Like I said, I got some more upcoming opportunities with some USAC, well, not necessarily USAC, but midget stuff coming up in the future. That like I said, I can't talk too much about right now, but I'd be really happy to talk about kind of after the race. We'd be getting closer to that time period, so we could talk more about that on another show.
Yeah, absolutely. We'll do it again, my friend. Good luck. Thank you for jumping on here. Thank you for reaching out. And I guarantee you have a lot of new fans tonight, my man, that may not have known about all this before. Go get them. Do us proud, my friend.
All right. I appreciate it. Thank y'all for having me.
You got it, man. Take care.
Y'all too.
You bet. There he goes right there, Bobby. Look at that. Look at that. Man, that's pretty cool.
That's right. Young racers all the time, reach out, let us know, if you got an event that you're going to race at, you've got a special, a special announcement that you want. All you got to do is reach out. He reached out a couple of weeks ago, and we obviously took the weekend off last week. And so now we're working on getting called back up and get him on the air. But if there's something that you need, tracks are the same way. You got a big race, let us know, and we'll get you on the air to talk about it.
Yeah, and that's a big deal. And again, apologies on the name bar right there. And I'll be real honest with you. The main thing that happened right there, I was so concerned about misspelling his last name. And before we came on the air, I was talking to a guy named Kyle. That's what happened. And that is no lie. So anyway, Alex Karpowicz is your man right there. We'll get him back on and have some great conversation. Man, that is super cool. Before we bring on Jennifer Ashlin, because we're going to talk about the San Antonio race reunion. Before we do that, how about a word right quick from our friends at My Race Pass?
Welcome to the My Race Pass app, the #1 app for motorsports fans. We want to make sure you get the most out of your My Race Pass app experience. With your new free account, you can use the My Race Pass app to see race day information, including event entries and official lineups and results for over 600 organizations across North America. You can also see track information and purchase online event tickets for select tracks. With your free account, you can also search for a track or series on the My Race Pass app and favorite their profile to receive news and race day notifications on your mobile device. To see more information and to see which app subscription is best for you, be sure to visit getmrpapp.com. My Race Pass, the ultimate racing resource.
Yeah, it is the only way to follow the racing as it's going on right there. You can see all the things that Bobby and I see when we're out on the racetrack and trying to call those races and figure out. It's a lot of people, Bobby. They tell me, man, how'd you know that car was 0.7 of a second ahead of the other car? Well, my Race Pass app. I mean, that's the only way I'd know that. I can't count that high.
I say, you don't tell me you can count like that? 1 Mississippi, 2 Mississippi, right as they pass that in front of you among everything else we do?
Not quite. I can't quite count that high. Let's dive back in here on a loaded Monday. First Monday Night Football game of the week or game of the year, 49ers and Jets, but who cares about that? Let's dive in and welcome in our friend Jennifer Ashlin. Man, we got big stuff happening with the San Antonio race reunion. By the way, Jennifer, good to see you on Saturday night. Thanks for coming out to Houston. We appreciate that.
Thank you, Rodney. Thank you. I had a blast out there. Honestly, I had a blast.
We need all the help we can get. So thank you so much. Jennifer, before we talk about the reunion, talk about you. How did all this happen for you?
A few years back, I started helping out Cindy when she brought the reunion in, and I was a fan at San Antonio Speedway. I was following drivers back then and looking at standing on the other side of the fence line, watching Tommy Grimes and John Kelly and the Davidsons and, Romers and Mayberries. And, I'm watching all those drivers out there driving and racing, and then the track closes and nowhere else to go on a Saturday night. And I was over at Texas Dirt Speedway, and, Cindy brought the reunion back and had some fun and bringing these drivers back together. And this year she's a little busy and things just too much. And I said, I'm going to do it. I don't want to see this go away.
Mm-hmm.
So that's, I do have a full-time race schedule myself. I do race sport compacts out at I-37 Speedway. And I'm thankful for having a place local and still close to home to be able to race at.
Yeah, absolutely.
So Jennifer, the one thing we've noticed over the years doing this show, when we bring in the Legend series and we bring in some of these old guys or more experienced gentlemen, if you will, the ones that we all remember when we were growing up, it's like they all have that same feeling like, oh, nobody wants to hear my stories. Nobody cares about me anymore. And it's like, dude, you don't understand. You don't have a clue as to how much you're being missed. And not only that, how much can you be introduced to this next generation of racers? They're the ones that don't necessarily know who you are, but they can be the next generation to inspire to be just like you. Talk about getting some of these legends involved in this event.
Bobby, it's been a challenge. I'm not going to lie, to get some people's interest out there. They're questioning, who is this person? I'm going to tell you first and foremost, nobody knows who I am. Nobody knows Jennifer Kidd before I was Jennifer Ashlin. Some may remember I married Nathan Ashlin, which spent many a days on that front stretch at San Antonio Speedway. So they'll see Nathan and they know Nathan a lot more than they do me. I've been trying to go around and talk to some of these drivers, make contact with some of these drivers, and tell them, I would love to have y'all there because this was my childhood. And this was my childhood that influenced me to start racing. You can still influence others to still continue in motorsports.
Yeah.
As far as bringing in the legends, I mean, some of our legends are still out there racing.
Yeah. I mean, they are. And I think that's one of the things like Bobby was talking about. You and I talked about this the other day, Saturday night, to where it's like, guys think that we don't want to hear those stories. But I think the other part of it where I think you have taken it to a different level, talk about the part, because it's not going to be so much about, and I think the format's going to be pretty loose, to where it's like things will be going on and, we're going to talk to drivers and do all these different things and hear their stories and all these different things. But a lot of this is to where what you're doing, you're taking it to a new level with scholarship stuff and all of that. Talk about that part, because we've got to get new blood into this, Jennifer. I mean, otherwise it's going to dry up. You know what I mean? The track is gone. Pan American's gone. San Antonio's gone. Longhorn's gone. Corpus is gone. We got to keep this thing going.
And how do you keep that going other than trying to still continue to influence that youth group? We've invited some of the LSQMA members out. Would love to welcome out some of the Austin area QMA members to bring out their cars, have those kids come out, listen to these guys racing these stories, see the stories. I know, we talk about that. Some people don't want to see it, but we're going to have screens going of how fun racing is and was and still can be. I've brought together a race reunion, the first ever race reunion scholarship fund, that all of the proceeds from the event, whether it be from leftover money from the ticket sales, part of it's going to food and entertainment, leftover money from ticket sales, the shirt sales. We San Antonio Race Reunion shirts and memorabilia that is been so thankful. On demand shirts is handling that. From these funds from that, as well as the funds from, we're going to have a silent auction. And if we have enough bigger items, we're going to actually do a raffle as well. All of those funds are going to be combined and broken down into 3 separate scholarship sponsorships from Race Reunion 2024. We're going to award those in 3 different age group brackets to the youth group of today that want to continue their racing. I'll announce later more information as far as how they can submit their information for entry into that. The age group is going to be 7 and under, 8 to 12, and 13 to 17-year-olds. It's not going to be limited to just dirt track drivers right now. We have youth in dirt track drag strip. You just talked to a young man that has started out micros. I want to be able to further any youth in motorsports.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's what it takes, right? It takes a village to grow this, and it's not like, we were all there, right? You never knew what you had until it's gone, right? You hear that all the time in country songs and in real life, but you never realized how good you had it when you had all the asphalt tracks. Now we've got the one track left in Houston that has issues of its own, which we're not going to get into here, but there's so many people that it's an unsung responsibility, that it takes a lot to get this stuff going. And I think it's great that you took it on to try to make it as special as it can be, just because, back in the day, it wasn't just San Antonio and Pan American. If you were a guy in Austin that raced both nights, Friday nights in Austin, Saturday nights in San Antonio, Sundays in Corpus, there's a lot of the Corpus guys that have connections to San Antonio. So in reality, yes, I get that it's a San Antonio race reunion, but it's also a hybrid race reunion of its own right, getting some of these older guys and the newer guys connected into the new thing. Talk about the aspect of expanding it out. Not so much expanding it out. You're not making it the South Texas race reunion, but you're trying to get an open invitation to all the guys that have connections to racing and so those in San Antonio.
Absolutely, Bobby. Many of these drivers that raced here, you just touched on it. They didn't just race at San Antonio Speedway. A lot of these drivers, they raced at CC Speedway. Just recently, and just today, I mean, I do research all day long trying to get more stuff together for the reunion. And, I've kind of tossed it about and bringing in the CC Speedway videos, because there's a lot of videos that have CC Speedway, but has San Antonio Speedway drivers. And I mean, we're talking videos back from the 90s. And, I'm hard to find the 80s stuff and earlier on, but I mean, we're working on it. I've been working to get some of the photos. I've been blessed with some of the photos from the Peters and putting all this together. But this is not just San Antonio Speedway's race reunion. This is San Antonio Race Reunion. I want to bring together drivers from all aspects. Dirt track, some of our asphalt drivers have gone from asphalt and raced dirt and won championships on dirt now. Whereas, they didn't at asphalt. And it's been a challenge. It is to get the interest out there, but I'm grateful for y'all to bring it on. We announced it down at South Texas Speedway when I was down there a few weeks back, and that crowd was roaring for it. Mentioned a little bit of HMP. I was blessed, and you touched on it. Asphalt's gone, and we have the one facility left. I like to say, we took the trip down this week not just to talk about the reunion, but to enjoy the racing. And Owen Pittman being an amazing promoter, to be able to put shows together, and then to be blessed with seeing that Terry Barden's still out there race directing, and these people know how to put a show together. But you know what? I just want to plug this real quick. drivers, if you don't show up to give the show, don't expect the people in the stands. And there were people in the stands, but not enough drivers out there. There was still a nice show, but I think the most cars out there was in the well, we used to call them legacies. But it was a great show, but drivers got to be there. You still got to show up, because you can't be complaining about a track not being there whenever you're not there.
Yeah, don't get me started.
Sorry about that.
No, that's okay. That's okay. I mean, I totally get that.
You brought Rodney's soapbox for that, Jennifer.
Yeah. I'm glad somebody else says it besides me and Bobby on here. So Jennifer, with the reunion, I mean, talk about that, because kind of the format's going to be, and I think one of the cool things that you're doing is because you've got, I mean, you've had folks that are donating things and so forth and so on. But I think the really cool part of what you're doing is that you're doing the silent auction, because I think that so much of this night needs to be the drivers, the characters, whoever it's going to be that walks up and has a story and wants to talk about it. And we're going to do the roll call of drivers. If you happen to be here and you race at Pan American or San Antonio or Corpus, whatever, let them talk. That silent auction, I think, is something, and tell people how to donate stuff, because I think that's something that can really generate some money in what you're trying to do right here.
So if you want to donate something to the silent auction, you can get a hold of me. Y'all can plug my phone number up here in a little bit. You send me a text message. I'm willing to meet to pick up any items. You can donate directly to the scholarship sponsorship fund if you'd like. We have been blessed right now with some amazing sponsors and donors right now. You know, the facility itself is going to be, the race reunion Saturday, October 5th, 5 to 11. It's going to be at the Backyard Kitchen in Poteet, Texas. Backyard Kitchen, CNC Graphics, Cotton Bowl Speedway, 317 Awards, I-37 Speedway, HMP, Dennis Taylor, Mad Dog Racing, Fastlane Cupcakes, On Demand Shirts, Debbie and Roger Neer, Amy and Brad Hunt. They have all donated so far. And I mean, we've got a growing list. I've had people messaging me throughout today, just different items. And if you're interested, throwing in a piece of memorabilia, if you think you've got something laying around, whether, customized items, we have some customized items coming from Jennifer Jones and Mark Graff Racing, OPL Mechanical. So there's a lot. People are still getting in contact with me to donate. If you want to donate, you can also send a message over to San Antonio Race Reunion. But I prefer just kind of text me, and because that's the fastest way to get a response from me.
That's right. That number is right there on our screen. Sorry about that.
No, you're good. We have Dale Earnhardt merchandise right now that's going to be there. Some Rusty Wallace merchandise, some Winston Racing Cup Series merchandise, San Antonio Race Reunion customized merchandise. In the silent auction, it's gonna go until about 9 o'clock that night, just so we're not interrupting any kind of show. You can walk around, continue to bid on items until about 9 o'clock, and then we'll go ahead and award things out. You don't have to be there. If you attended a silent auction before, you'll put your name, your bid, and your phone number. If you're not there and you had the winning bid, I will be happy to call you and meet up with you to get you your items.
Nice.
I think it's going to be a barn burner myself. I mean, I can't go. I've got other commitments to go to that. I was looking forward to going, but had some stuff pop up with the rebirth, if you will, of Texana. So unfortunately, I'm not going to be there, but I'm wishing you guys the best of luck in terms of having it all together. Rodney and I'll get together, talk about a few things that might surprise you later, if it's possible for some of the Q&A portions, but I'll surprise that to Rodney later if he likes my idea. But the cool part is I think that once people understand what it's about, right? I think that's part of it. When they know more, they start jumping in with 2 feet. And I think as they know more, the racers have always helped out racers. We're one gigantic family. Yes, we argue. Yes, we bicker. Yes, we fight. But when it comes time to actually doing the right thing and getting behind people, we saw that with the Jamie Campbell deal. The whole racing community got together and got behind Jamie and his family for his accident. And it's like, I think the same thing's going to happen with the race reunion in terms of everybody starting to get on board and everybody doing it. I think that's a great thing that you're here, because it's one thing for us to throw up a banner up onto the screen. It's another thing to hear the voice behind the event because you get an extra personal touch to it. And so, we're going to continue to support it as much as we can. Obviously, Rodney's going to be there. So I think that the fact that once the racers start becoming aware of it, they're going to be the ones that are going to start jumping in with both feet.
Yeah, and I appreciate that. Something else I want to mention that real important to me, and I kind of talked to Rodney about this and told him my purpose behind this. I am in the process of digitizing all of the photos that I did receive from the Peter's daughter. Once I have digitized all those photos, and the goal is to have them done within the next week, if not 2. So they will be done before the reunion. And once I digitize what I have, my goal is to put those pictures back in the hands of the family members of those racers, whether they've passed on or whether they're still with us. A lot of people have lost things throughout the years, fires, floods, and, just moving and losing things. If I can just put a picture back in somebody's hands, it means everything. I mean, for just a quick story, Saturday night at HMP, I walked up to John Heil and talked to John Heil, and I showed him some pictures I had of him whenever they had the Red Dog series out at San Antonio Speedway. And he says, "Can you send me those pictures?" He goes, "I don't even have those pictures." And I not only I sent them over to him in text message, but I've got the hard copies here. So, it's that just puts it back in the hands of the people that need it.
I thought it was going to be him throwing a fire extinguisher.
Well, he said he's got 2 ready, but they're about half the size than he used to have because he can't handle those big ones anymore.
That's what I'm talking about. That is what I'm talking about. And I'll tell you, Jennifer, after you and I were talking and all the conversation that we had right there on Saturday night, I was thinking, when I was talking about getting a piece of concrete and all this stuff from the racetrack, I'm like, after the reunion, maybe we could get a cavalry together, go out there, break into the place. I mean, that's how you finish off tonight, if you know what I'm saying.
Everybody's it is BYOB, so you don't know how much intoxication is going to go on. People are going to be stopping by on the way back home.
That's the biggest part.
That's right. They got to get right past it to get to Poteet, don't they?
That's right.
Talk about that location, because I think that's the biggest part of it. I mean, it's one thing if you were going to do this and do it like in Helotes or in Bernie, but talk about the spot right here. And from you went live the other night. I mean, that looks like a happening little spot right there where this is going down.
So let me tell you a little bit. I know there's not a person out there that doesn't know the name Beaver Stelzick. Brad Stelzick and his wife, they own Backyard Kitchen in Poteet, Texas. And Brad stepped up and said, "Let me host it. I'd be honored." And yes, Backyard Kitchen is one of my sponsors also. But the facility and seeing the work that they put in, into Atascosa County, their community of Poteet, Texas, the school of Poteet, Texas, Brad is there to support. And he's there to help and be there to support us as well. He wants to hear these memories of his dad racing just as much as we want to share them. Oh, and I get chills. I mean, it gives me chills, Rodney, just to think about the honor that it is to be able to have it at that facility. Because I've known that kid since he was just knee high. And to be able to see the growth that he has put in and the hard work. Yes, they've done a lot in renovations. They've put in 4 65-inch screens out there for us, knowing that the reunion's coming. So we have 2 screens that's going to be going with continuous video and 2 screens going with continuous photos. And they've got a stage. He's just a playground. There's kids tickets available. Tickets are $18 for adults and $13 for kids. It includes your meal and the entertainment. We're going to have Poor Man DJ services out of Pleasanton, Texas, going to be there also. And you on the mic, I cannot tell you how excited I am. It's going to be a night for the racers.
Yeah. Should be a good time.
So, Jennifer, before we let you go about the racing aspect for the reunion, let's talk about these new gigs you keep popping up as, trying to do some announcing over there at I-37. Sometimes it's not as easy as it looks, but it seems like you're kind of catching on pretty quick.
It's fun whenever it's the dirt. And I can tell you, because I've been around the dirt, I've been a fan all this time. I've been watching from, all the tracks, and I felt natural in it and got on there to help out Chris Workman when the E-mods came. And I went with it. And I'm going to tell you, how I know what to say and what to do is by listening to, 2 of my heroes is Rodney Rodriguez and Milton Hope. Mm-hmm. I mean, Bobby, I listened to you up at CTS for a while, but I mean, it was just Rodney and Milton have just kind of paved that way and got on there and just did what I did. and did a little bit down in South Texas Speedway. Rodney was unfortunately unable to make it, and I sent a message, and no offense to anybody, but the previous time that Rodney wasn't being able to be there, Owen kind of had his hands full, and I want to help wherever I can with any racetrack. So I mean, if I'm not on that track racing, I want to help if I can. I help promote I-37 when we can. We're in several parades throughout the year, handing out flyers and such, and trying to share events anytime. But you put a mic in front of me, and I kind of felt natural until Saturday night, and I just kind of stumbled over myself. That was a pretty big crowd at HMP, and I just was not. I was a stranger to that one.
I didn't give you a warning. I was just like, here you go. So sorry about that.
And I kind of wasn't timed out on the timing and when to get the mic back. So, but I do enjoy doing it. Anytime that someone's not able to make it, I'll be happy to fill in.
Yep, absolutely. It's a fun gig. So lastly, one more time for folks that whether it be wanting, if they've got merchandise they want to donate, if they want to be a part of the silent auction, push it one more time. I'll pull that up to tell us what's coming up. It's going to be such a good time that's coming up on October 5th in Poteet.
All right. So one more time, if y'all want to be a part of the San Antonio Race Reunion, it's going to be Saturday, October the 5th from 5 to 8 at the Backyard Kitchen out in Poteet, Texas. It's going to be for all San Antonio Speedway family, fans, drivers, and staff. We want to see everybody out there. We're going to have a silent auction, raffle. If we have enough items, if you want to donate items, my number is right here on the screen. It does say Jennifer Kidd on the flyer. It was previously Kidd. It's Jennifer Ashlin on Facebook or San Antonio Race Reunion. Catch me there. You can send me a message or text me, call me. I'll be happy to meet up to gain any type of merchandise you want to donate to those auctions. And again, all of that is going to go to a San Antonio Race Reunion 2024 scholarship and sponsorship to the youth age group 7 and under, 8 to 12, and 13 to 17. There's going to be one award in each category. You're
damn right. It's going to be a good time happening out there. BYOB. So remember that, friends. BYOB. Take your own Pepsis and Cokes and Mountain Dews out there, because that's what's going on that night.
Well, if that's the beverage you choose, I mean, I know you drivers know how to pack an ice chest.
That's it. And I'll be the one when it ends. I'll be the one taking us to the track to go get pieces of concrete.
We were trying to get out there to get some. We've got some surprise merchandise that's going to be out there. We've been truly blessed with some of the people that have stepped up. And I honestly, I'm going to plug this one time. I received a message earlier, and a little bit of a donation has changed from Cotton Bowl Speedway. We originally had 2 VIP pass experiences and a family 6-pack. We now have two VIP packages. So one is going to be a VIP package for Friday night and a VIP package for Friday or Saturday night, and a set of 3 general admission tickets for Oktoberfest.
That's great. That is great. That's really good.
Thank you, guys.
Y'all saved me a shirt.
Absolutely. And I am going to have some shirts there. If you don't make the deadline of September 30th to be able to order them online with ODS, if you order them now, they'll ship them straight to you. But if you don't make that deadline, I will have some there at the reunion.
Boom. That's what I'm talking about. Good stuff. Jennifer, thank you for jumping on here. Thank you for coming out and supporting Asphalt Racing on Saturday night. And looking forward to what's coming up on October 5th. Let's keep in contact. We'll get this thing going.
Absolutely. Thank you, guys. Y'all have a wonderful evening.
You got it, ma'am. Thank you. You bet.
Bye-bye.
There she goes, man. And she is totally taking that thing, the bull by the horns right there. I know Cindy started that and, kind of getting everything kicked off right there. But, man, I think that this has the potential to be really cool. And the one thing that I want to throw in there is because I think that a lot of folks, it's a San Antonio thing. Number one, remember that includes Pan American Speedway. I know it's SAS because, we're younger than the folks at Pan American. But if you're a Pan American, that race there or went there, show up. Come on out. And the other thing, Austin, San Antonio, man, make it worth the drive. I'm going to try to figure out a way to get Slick Yeomans, Jim Palace. Scheid. I want these guys there, man, because Greg, I mean, that's the stories that I want to hear right there.
Well, I think it'd be fun. I mean, I would love to see. I mean, the shirts look good. The ones that that ODS are doing for that event. But I would love to see a shirt. When the green flag stops, when the green flag drops, the bullshit stops.
Yeah.
I think you could make a killing selling those, just like they did back when they first came out, when the Highway 16 opened. So
yeah,
I think that would be a unique selling point to get some of those shirts done. But Gina set the standard on these race reunions a long time ago.
Oh yeah,
And Cindy did a good job with hers, and I think Jennifer's going to live up to the hype of this one, because it's going to be a lot of fun. It's almost the perfect weekend. You've got no UT, no UTSA. The only track that's racing is Texana, and I'll be there. That's why I can't make it to the reunion. So drivers, come on out. If you can't make it to Texana, go down a little bit further south and make it to Poteet for that racing reunion.
Yeah, going to be fun. I sent that draft or photo to James Cole about that Highway 16 shirt, and he was like, "Holy shit, I forgot about that. So hold your breath. You never know what you might see happening at the race reunion with some of that cool stuff, because that place was Highway 16 Raceway back in 1977. Jennifer talked right there about Cotton Bowl Speedway. They're going to be a part of that. Hopefully we get Marianne and HE out there, because Lord knows they have San Antonio stories. But Cotton Bowl Speedway is flying this weekend. How about a word about what's coming up at CBS this weekend?
Saturday night, September the 14th, we have all of our local classes plus the return of the Texas Dirt Truck Series. 2 regular season Saturday nights remain. Track championships at stake. Close points battles in several divisions. Come on out early. Gates open at 5. Racing starts at 7. Family-friendly atmosphere. Great food, souvenirs, and great racing action. Who is going to get closer to a track championship at Cotton Bowl Speedway? Let's find out together. Saturday night, September the 14th. We'll see you there. Green flag, green light. Let's go racing.
There we go. Yeah, well, good editing right there. You can see how I pull that commercial. Also, another one coming up for our friends on Racing America. We've got a huge one coming up with the UARA. How about a word about that one?
Wednesday night, September 11th, in the Love's Travel Stop 150. Come see the best super late models in the country as they hit the nearly century-old speedway as part of the UARA National Series. Plus action for the Truck Series, Sport Compact, and Street Stocks. It's the Love's Travel Stop 150, Wednesday night, September 11th at Owasso Speedway. For more information, go to UARA National on Facebook and catch it only on RacingAmerica.tv.
Oh, yeah, middle of the week stuff happening right there on Racing America. You can catch that, and that'll be a really, really good time. All right, man. Guests galore. That's what happens when we take a week off. We come back and we just load this thing up for you guys. Man, Kennedale was a place to be if you were in Texas this past weekend, and we welcome back. I mean, I think it's been a couple of years, year and a half since we've had this man on. He shows up on Saturday, goes out there, secures the win. Our man, Ray Allen Kulhanek. How we doing, sir?
Man, I'm doing good. Still trying to recoup from the long weekend. It was definitely a long one.
So talk about that part. I mean, that was such a massive event that was going on out there. You had the Friday, well, beyond or before Friday. Kind of talk about how your whole weekend shook out.
It just was kind of busy at the shop. Monday through Wednesday, between trying to get some shock work stuff done, and then had a customer's car there that I was kind of going over some things, and then obviously getting all of my stuff ready to go up to Kennedale, which I had been for about 2 weeks prior, just been kind of piddling along to where I just didn't overwhelm myself the week of. And like I said, man, pretty much about 99% of the time I travel and race, by myself. And so it was kind of no different this deal. I just left early Thursday morning and drove up, got there about 3:00, got parked, and like I said, I just kind of is going over the racetrack because I hadn't raced there since about I think 2015, and all I had ever raced there has just been the ASCS sprint car stuff. So it'd been a while since I've been there, but I went there 2 weeks earlier to go with Jaden Edmond, which is another one of my shop customers, to go wrench on their sprint car. And so it was kind of good to get familiarized with the racetrack, because it was a little more banking than the last time that I had been there. So I was kind of a little mentally prepared for that. But like I said, man, it was just a lot of work and driving, and it was a big deal for myself.
Nice.
So, Ray, when you get to a bigger show like that, is it one of those when you walk through the gate, every racer wants to show up and win, right? That's why we go to the racetrack, because you want to finish first. When you get to the big shows like that, you see some of the competition is like, okay, here comes my A game. Now I get to swing my A+ game. How do you mentally prepare for some of these bigger shows like that when you get some of the best from all over the state coming to race at one race?
Believe it or not, the longer you race, which, like I said, man, I've raced a long time now. I don't even know exactly how many years. I just know it's over 25 years now of racing. So the more seasoned you get, the more you treat it just like another day. I feel like anybody that really approaches big races, with the anticipation of, so-and-so is going to be there. Well, you generally run across these guys, on local Saturday night races as well. Especially if you travel at all and just kind of bounce around, you know who's fast no matter where you go. And again, it's another day. You got to treat it that way. It's just, and it helps too. I did it for a living for quite a few years, and I've raced at the highest level. And a lot of people don't really realize how much talent is at every local racetrack on any given, Saturday night. There's so much talent across the United States, and it's a blast to do. I always, put my best foot forward going to a big show. Just, you got to have your ducks in a row. And the biggest thing is it's not necessarily that you got to have good luck, but you can't have bad luck. Yeah. And, that's always kind of the first step is, make it through the first corner of your first race and make sure something, bad doesn't happen, which in my races, this first heat race, first corner, a guy spins right in front of me. And then I thought I was screwed. But like I said, we dug ourselves back out of that hole and ended up making a decent run back through the field to get back to third. And then there was a DQ or something that moved me to second. So that helped tremendously on the points wise. But like I said, it's a lot of work, but in my opinion, you really attack a big show just like it's another Saturday.
And Ray Allen, how hard is that for you now? Because like you talked about, you've done this for a long time. You're a seasoned veteran right there. You're a driver, but at the same time, you're a business owner and you have customers. You mentioned that. You talk about going and helping drivers out, when your customers are out there. How hard is that for you when you're there as a business owner, as an advisor, somebody helping, and you're like, shit, I want to be on the track. Talk about that part, man, because that's got to be something where it's like, man, you're just gritting your teeth, working with your customer, but at the same time, you want to be out there just elbows up.
Yeah. So going a couple of weeks ago to wrench on the sprint car, one of the things that really amps me up as far as wanting to just be in a car is when you're there, like I said, doing a job. The racetrack turned out exactly like I would want.
Oh, shit.
It's like, golly, I wish I was in a car right now. But I don't know. I enjoy, and that was really honestly the biggest thing that pushed me into getting into the shock side of this. Was I know I'm done as far as racing full time for a living, unless something big comes along. But man, nobody really looks at a 42-year-old anymore. So I don't say I'm done racing by no means. I'm nowhere near done, but I have found the enjoyment of working with other guys, working with customers, helping their programs. developing, drivers and making them see the racetrack in different ways. One of my biggest things that I always tell guys that I do work with, as far as if I'm driving, coaching them, one of my biggest things I always tell them is race the track.
Yeah.
You worry about the guys that are around you. You got to figure out, where your car is good at and maneuver around. And two, when you're racing around other guys, you obviously you gotta maneuver where they're not. But at the same time, if you race the racetrack, where your car is better than theirs at, and that helps you pick guys off.
Yeah. Yep.
Ray Allen, talk about, you mentioned working with the younger drivers. As somebody that's been in this thing a long time, where's the missing link to get this next generation of young kids or younger adults and stuff? What's the thing that's, other than money, we get that racing's expensive. What's that one thing that's that disconnect to keep this next generation coming on board? It seems like it's harder and harder to get the next generation of kids on it. You got junior limiteds that helps, and you got some entry level sport compact stuff. But where's that? Is it because kids nowadays get to ride around in Ubers and don't wrench on their own cars? I mean, where's that disconnect coming from?
Honestly, in my opinion, I feel like there's just so many more things in the world for people to do. 20, 30 years ago, 40 years ago, 50 years ago, what did people do on Saturday nights?
Yep.
Friday nights, they went to football, high school football games, and Saturday nights, you might have went bowling, or you went to a movie theater. There wasn't as many things available to do. And really and honestly, one of my biggest pet peeves that I hate the most, but I use the most, is phones. I mean, you take the electronics away, from, and disconnect that to where people actually have to get out and go out. And, now everything is just completely ran off of social media, in my opinion, which is such a great thing. But at the same time, I feel like it's connected the world, but at the same time, it's disconnected the world. Mm-hmm. I don't feel like people really have as much, human interaction as they do on a, cell phone. So that's just kind of one of my opinions, is that I feel like kids don't play outside nowhere near like they used to whenever I was young. And again, I just credit all that back to the electronics. Everybody's just kind of buried in it.
I mean, doing what we're doing tonight. I mean, that's a great example right now. I mean, we didn't have, when we were growing up, I mean, you went to the races and you saw what you saw, and then there was never shows like this or anything. I mean, everybody is honed into the phone and or the iPad or the YouTube TV. I mean, or direct
like
TV. Yeah,
it's such a good tool. Like we're getting to do this, and people get to see. And it's a widespread deal. I mean, everybody gets to connect that way. But I feel like because it is such readily available, and now everything is so, social media driven, it just, kids have so many games and whatnot just on a handheld device that they can carry around with them anywhere they go, like a lunchbox. And that's what I can't stand it. But you know what? It's just the way of the world now. And like I said, I use it all day, every day, dealing with customers and everything else. So it's such a good thing. But at the same time, I feel like it's bad.
Yeah, we're lost without it. So Ray Allen, lastly, so you go out there. I mean, you beat Dean Abbey, you beat Tommy Williams. I mean, Garin. I mean, the list goes on and on and on about beating the guys that you beat on Saturday night. When are you going to get behind the wheel again with these big shows that are coming up?
I just try to follow along, and as soon as I see a flyer for one, I do communicate with a lot of the promoters just to try to keep up with when races are. I know Mr. Lopez told me that I guess they got another one here in a couple of weeks. I know we got some stuff coming down the pipe, down here in South Texas. Obviously 105 Speedway will have their two big shows. And then of course I'm trying to squeeze in some of these mini sprint races with James Parks. Like I said, I've been racing that car and stuff with him, and be honest with you. I love open wheel racing. I can't get enough of it, but it's just, like I said, I still actually have all of my sprint car stuff, and it's just sitting in just the cost of going and running it versus, what the payout is. The payouts on that stuff is still the same in the 360 stuff as it was when I started racing. So the cost of everything has grown and the purses have not. So that's why I like my limited. I call it my little money maker. It doesn't cost nowhere near the money to run it. I can actually go race it by myself. And like I said, I enjoy every form of dirt track racing. I don't care what it is. I'm a race car whore. I'll sit in anything race. I love to race, but like I said, James, Thunder Road Podcast, like I said, he's giving me an opportunity to run that mini sprint. So that's been kind of my open wheel fix, racing down there at Gulf Coast Speedway. Man, they have made that racetrack so badass. It's so fun to race. So I'm trying to elbow him like, hey, Bubba, let's go race some.
Yeah, that's it. Good stuff, my man. Way to go Saturday night. The whole weekend, man, because winning over there, I mean, in that thing, that's a big deal. I mean, that was a huge lot of cars, brother. A lot of cars.
I enjoyed it, man. It was definitely a fun weekend. One that'll go down in the books. That was my first, I guess, if you want to consider it a national win, an IMCA national win. So that was pretty neat, and also kind of one of those deals of, it paid good money and made me happy about coming back home to see Chelsea, and told her, hey, let's go eat somewhere. She's like, I think we should just order food and hang out at the
let's go to Sonic.
I like that.
Yeah, let's go to Sonic. There we go. That's what you do right there.
Yeah.
What you do.
Don't forget, Texana's coming up on the 21st. We'd love to see you down there.
Right.
Yeah, I see that. I gotta look. I don't remember if we had something planned that weekend or not. But yeah, no, I've seen that they're going to have that race, and I think there's one more after that as
October
well.
5th.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
September 21st and October 5th. We'd love to see you down there again.
Yes, sir.
Yep. Good stuff. Ray Allen, way to go, my man. Thank you for jumping on with us on your Monday night, and I'm sure I will see you very soon, my brother.
Yes, sir. I appreciate it. Thanks for having me.
You got it, man. Take care.
Bye-bye.
You bet. Race car whore. We know a lot of them. My friend.
There's quite a few of them. You could almost write a book about them.
Yeah. Speaking of that, I think we have one more that we are set for tonight, and I think this dude is definitely one. As we're going to dive in right here. Not sure if he's audio or video, but we'll bring him in. He may be audio, but I saw him the other day. I mean, I saw that stash. I saw him up close and personal. The winner of the trucks at Houston Motorsports Park, the HMP Oval, on Saturday night. It is our man J.D. the Legg. How you doing, brother?
Good. How you guys doing?
JD, man, we're not doing as well as you are, my friend. So what's going on? What have you been doing since winning that massive event there on Saturday night?
Oh man, really went right back to work Sunday. There at the racetrack with my hacks. Always another race to go to. So getting turned right back around, getting ready to go again.
That's what I'm talking about.
So JD, tell us this story, man. I wasn't there to see it in person, but I heard it was like a last minute change, and you got hired on the spot, like Smoking the Bandit trying to deliver beer to Texarkana to Georgia. Tell us about that whole story, the way it went down for you on Saturday.
Yeah, it was interesting to say the least. We tested early Saturday morning. Rick Polero, John Howell, they were there testing. We tested MCM early Saturday morning. I think we were done about 1:32 or something like that. And I was in the trailer. I was doing tires and getting all that sized up, trying to take workload off myself. And John and Rick drove up and called me out to the truck. And I was like, oh, let's say what's up or whatever. We're good friends like that. And
right.
Rick, he was like, I mean, I know you got a lot of work tonight. You think Max will let you race my truck? And I was like, man, I mean, that's a big opportunity. I'm sure he would. So he called Max over and asked him the same question. Max was like, dude, you better win. So that was about 2. I think practice started at 5. Like the gates opened up at 3. So I went and pulled as much lead off of our stuff as we could, because I'm about 110 pounds less than Rick. I'm a small individual, so I had to go and mount up about 100 pounds worth of lead, and they got back and we finished up mounting the lead. Had to move the steering wheel, ratchet strap the seat in. Luckily, gonna out myself here a little bit, but luckily Rick had a pillow in his truck I could sit on.
Oh,
Luckily for some reason my legs reached the pedals and everything fine, good enough to work. But I couldn't get myself high enough to get over the rib supports with my arms to turn the steering wheel. So luckily he had a pillow for me to sit on all night.
Oh my God! So how'd you get rid of that once you got to tech? I mean, how'd that happen? I mean, I don't know if that's allowed or not. I mean, I don't know if you can or not. But so how'd all that work out? Tell me, you had a sore ass, or how'd that work?
Man, there wasn't really. I don't even know if I even got out of the thing at Tech. I know if I would have got out of it at Tech, I think maybe Rick's plan was to go in there and pull that pillow out and kind of joke around with me there in Tech in front of everybody. But we got through Tech with flying colors and fairly quick there. So I don't think it ever really got the chance to happen.
That's awesome.
So JD, I noticed you had your driving suit with you to take that picture on a pretty clean MCM Racing Development driver suit. Is that something you keep with you every week just in case somebody happens to ask and say, hey, jump in this thing and go kick some ass? Or is that just a coincidence that you had it with you where you're able to go and bring out your driving suit and all your gear to get in that race truck?
No, I I take that with us everywhere. It stays in Max's toter. For the reason, I guess, of that. And then, I like to have all my stuff there. That way, in case any of our drivers, like they lose something of theirs, or, someone needs to borrow anything of mine, it's in there. So.
Yeah. Never a bad thing to have with you. I do want to ask you, JD, let's talk about Max. I mean, Max is a good friend of mine. I mean, full disclosure. I mean, we like to chat it up and have conversations. Talk about just kind of the program there. I mean, your role with him. I know he brings in a lot of great drivers from Brazil and Mexico. I mean, you had another one. Esteban was there the other night. Rodriguez. Kind of talk about how everything works with MCM and your role in all of that.
Yeah, we. I don't know if I really have one position. I try to do as much as I can and do everything as best as I can. So we got a lot of guys that come race for us, and a lot of different classes of vehicles too. So it's we kind of get to dip in a little bit of everything, and place people in the appropriate, I guess, skill level of car they're going to jump into, and it's really a fun deal to watch them succeed and learn throughout the years. And especially someone like Kenneth that's come back for a couple of years now. Seeing his progression's been pretty cool, being along with it, and we're in a really good shape and hunt for a championship here in the next couple of weeks there at Houston. So that'll be hopefully a pretty good deal.
So JD, when you have these different drivers come in, and I've seen you at work, I mean, down there with Max and some of those other guys that you have going on there, how much is that? I mean, how much does it change? I mean, how hard is it to get the trucks and the modifieds and stuff set up? Because everybody wants it a different way. I mean, is it just as simple as getting a little feedback and making a change here and there, maybe tweaking a shock, tweaking the wedge a little bit? Or is it every time somebody else gets in there, you guys have to completely redo the setup on all this stuff?
No, especially at a place like Houston, we've got a lot of experience at. So we got a really, really long and really good notebook to go back on. So, when we show up, I know we're going to be good basically with anybody. Pretty confident in that, and I think that's something that we all try to take pride in is showing up no matter what, and knowing we have a really good piece. So, everyone's a little bit different. So, if it's as simple as making a little shock adjustment or little spring rubber here and there, a little sway bar, something small. But typically we show up handling wise very close.
Yeah. So JD, I have to tell you, one of the things that I thought was really cool the other night was when I got there, I ran into Rick right away, and he said, "I'm not driving. I've got JD in the truck." And I'm like, oh, "JD? I mean, that's Max's guy, whatever." Kind of talk about that. I mean, obviously, with Rick and John, I mean, that's one of the top organizations you're going to find. Same thing with Max. Kind of talk about that, because I think a lot of people think, well, these people don't like each other. But, the respect factor, I think, is something that people need to realize. The fact that they were able to, I don't mean this in a sexual way, they were able to share you the other night. But, I mean, that's a pretty cool thing, in my opinion.
Yeah, no, for sure. I've known Rick and John for, a very long time. Since I was racing Bandoleros probably 10, 12 years ago. John built my brother, or my dad, really nice sport mod. We were in that sport mod asphalt series. So, that's how I got to meet John and Rick, and, just kind of kept up through the years. I quit racing there for a little while, but would hang around the racetrack every now and then. And, really tried to not keep myself known, but, it's always been a mutual respect thing for John and Rick, especially to see them at a racetrack, even, 7, 8 years ago, to, even if I wasn't racing, go shake their hand, tell them hello and stuff like that. So, I feel like a lot of the opportunity came with that. And then a good portion of it too, it'd be because of Max letting me, will that outlaw and all that stuff this year, and having some good runs in it, and, some good clean runs with it, especially the last race, running side by side with Rick's car like that, as clean as we could, as hard as we could. So I guess in a way, the two of them together really helped me out, I think, in the best way possible.
Mm-hmm.
So JD, I'm disappointed that I wasn't there and you didn't get a chance to be interviewed at the table at the end of the races like you've been telling me you want to be. So I'm sorry I wasn't there and you missed it. But hey, at least you get to come on this show, and it's twice as much fun coming here versus the interview that you'd have there at H&P. So congratulations on that, dude. We'll have to try to get you in another vehicle another night that I'm going to be there.
Yeah, man, for sure. Running second in that outlaw twice in a row, knowing we had a really good piece, it was not gonna say it was frustrating, but for someone like me, it's I get not really an audition every time you hop in a race car, but you really never know who's watching. So I try to make the most out of it every time I can. So getting to do one of those interviews at the end of the night would certainly boost that a lot.
Oh my God, you guys are killing me. I didn't get to do that. All right. Driving the knife in my heart, you guys. So JD, for you, because you do, you work on these, machines. You're such a wizard with doing what you do. And how much of that is for you? It's got to be very hard when you're out there working on them. And dude, you can drive with anybody, with anyone. You prove that every time you get into one of these things. How hard is that for you, where you're sitting there and you're like, shit, I want to be behind the wheel?
Oh man, every weekend for sure. But at the end of the day, I found out a long time ago in my situation, driving race cars don't pay the bills, and working on race cars like I do, and Max pays me a fairly competitive. So it's it's a fun time for sure at the racetrack. I'm around it, and it leads to. I'm glad it's led to opportunities like it has. So I'm not, as much as I want to race, at the end of the day, my day job is still working on race cars for a living. So it's not that bad, and I'm fully committed to it every time we're at the racetrack.
Love it, man.
Well, dude, congrats on the big win. We're glad to see the hot shoe came out again. On top, and we'll I'm not sure when I see you again at the track, but make sure you save me some of those good little treats that Max and them cook up. Maybe next time I'll go to the Mexican restaurant with you guys at like 2 a.m, like I should have last time.
Oh man, yeah, for sure.
Yeah. Good job, my man. Super proud of what you did. Hey, we got to talk on the front stretch. So if that means anything, I mean, hopefully it does.
Hey, that'll make up for it.
Let me tell you, JD, you made the young lady that came out on the track. She was like, I want to take a picture with that guy. I want to take a picture with that real race car driver. That dude is a star. That's why I'm like, JD, you got a few minutes. So you made a young lady's night that night, my friend.
Yeah, man. I'm glad I could do that. They're the reason that we all come out there and do it. The people in the stands. There's nobody out there. It'd be surely a heck of a lot less fun.
That's right. All right, my man. Way to go. And I'm sure I will run into you soon. We'll run into you very soon.
All right. Thank you, guys.
You bet. Take care. There he goes. JD Legg. That is the one thing that we did not get done the other night. And I've been hearing it, and you probably have too. That's why you mentioned it. Bobby, damn it, we missed him. Anyway, man, what
that's all right. Maybe he'll get something else. Well, I ain't going to be there on the 21st either.
No, I'll tell you, the one thing with JD, it's like, and that's where you see all these guys. I mean, because even like John Heil, speaking of John Heil, he when he gets behind the wheel, I mean, it's like you see all these guys where, I mean, JD is one hell of a race car driver, and we only get to see it minimal times, and then he jumps out there, and it's like people are like, "Who is that guy? Who is that guy?" I'm like, "That's one of the best freaking drivers around." He just is making money doing, things that are going to pay his bills. And man, I tell you, Max has a fleet of people that work for him.
He does. He's got a huge crew.
Yeah, absolutely. Guys, I want to tell you about this one. The Arklatex is coming up. It is this weekend, the Doug Ingalls Classic. And man, that's going to be a loaded weekend of all of that going on. Of course, for our Texas, Louisiana friends, I mean, anybody that's checking in, if you want to see some great dirt track racing, raceon.com. We're lucky here on this show that we have Race On and Racing America that are both streaming this bad boy live, and all the replays right there. But Doug Ingalls Classic happening at Arklatex. And Arklatex is that place where people say that the best come from there. And I've seen a lot of people from down south that are like, huh. I think we're finally setting up where we're going to have a real, I don't want to say civil war because that's a bad thing, but a real North versus South thing at some point, BC.
Just got to find the right track to do it at. I got two in mind. One would be Heart of Texas and one would be Cotton Bowl.
Yep. You ain't never lie.
North-South showdown. Bring in some limited modifieds, bring in some factory stock, bring in another sport class, and see what we got.
Yep. Ain't no doubt about that. Bobby, speaking of races coming up, we had the rain out there at Texana Raceway Park, and that place was drenched. And thank you all for not sitting there and saying, well, why'd you rain it out? Well, it looked pretty wet. BC, talk about what's coming up on September 21st out at TRP.
Well, a lot of it ends up being the same that it was before. The difference now is that they've been able to increase the purse, where before the hobby stocks were racing for $750 to win. They're now racing for $1,000 to win, which is a pretty hot purse there when you have the end of the season shows coming up. So hobby stocks racing for $1,000. E-mods with some uptick in their purse as well, $600 to win for the E-mods. So bring out your economy modified. We should see a good show of those. A lot of fleet from Corpus and a couple of guys from I-37 supposed to have run on Saturday. It looks like they're going to be committed to coming back, especially now that it comes back. Also going to get the micro mods there from the Race Ranch coming up to have a good time. And a couple of interesting notes. The kids get to ride in the race cars at the intermission. That's always fun. You and I know how much fun the kids enjoy that. And two more interesting things. There is no registration fee for the drivers on the final two races coming up on the 21st and October the 5th. But in terms of the limited modifieds, they are running both USRA limited mods and IMCA Southern Sport mods together. All you have to do is just register your car at Tech. You get to pick one or the other, no hybrids, but that's your chance. No complaining. You can't say, well, they got a USRA rules and I'm IMCA, or I'm IMCA and they say USRA. Come on out. Let's make it a battle of the brands to see which one comes out on top.
Man, I like that. I like that part right there, and I think that it's going to be hopefully a good night. I think with and that one falls in, I think, to where some of the tracks are off. So hopefully folks are going to come out. And I'll just say that for the Texana race, what I'll say, and again, the plans are moving forward for 2025 to where Cord and whoever's going to run that place, whoever's going to be the unlucky soul to be the promoter. This is something right here to where it's imperative. This is one of those nights to where I think it's really, really important to where if you want, and again, I'm not saying that the track's not going to be around. I'm just saying where if you want a racetrack to have support, this is one of those nights to where with the way the schedules line out, get out there. If you want the place to succeed, show up, show out, the stands, the pits, man, here's your night. Show how great Texana is, because that is a great little spot.
Yeah, it's a fun little racetrack. I mean, for one thing, and we were talking about with Ray Allen earlier about how to get the next generation involved, and he said there was so much stuff to do. I think that the Texana was one of the tracks that benefited the most from the pandemic.
Yep.
Because there wasn't anything else to do. You had all those small town people bored out of their minds. They couldn't go to Victoria and do anything, couldn't go to Port Lavaca and do anything. So they decided to come on out to the racetrack on a Saturday night. We saw that in abundance all over the state, as Texas didn't have the restrictions that some of the other tracks had. So racing was able to be back on everybody's mind. I think now that everything's opened back up a couple of years later, racing has gone to the back burner. It's always a challenge when you try to race against college football and the NFL and high school football on a Friday night. That's why Waco's wrapped up and done. But I also think that, it just becomes a challenge. You got 2 shots to get it right. September the 21st and October 5th coming up in the end of 2024 before we end up getting the news about who's taking over. But it's a chance, like you said, show up, show out, and have a good time. I'll be there. Fortunately, I will miss Houston again, but they need me down there at Texana. So Chris Workman, who was going to fill in for me from I-37, is actually going to do some stuff with the E-Mods because he's a big supporter of that class. So we got a chance for him to do the support stuff for his track with his brother and his car. So it'll be a hell of a lot of fun. I'm looking forward to it. So best of luck to you guys over at the HEP Oval, but I'll be back at my home track at Texana.
There it is. Final thoughts. NASCAR yesterday. Joey Logano moves on. You had an Atlanta race. Entertaining. For the most part, what I saw. But man, I thought that we were going to have somebody come in and spoil the playoff party. It didn't happen. Logano moves on. That dude is solid, and I think you have to. He may not be the dominating driver, but you have to always know that he's going to be right there, and he's going to find a way to win one of these races in these final stages, segments, whatever you want to call them. He's going to find a way to punch his ticket. I have no doubt that he will be in the Final Four. He will find a way to win.
It's going to be interesting that next round. Although the only problem is that we talk about the September 21st stuff that goes head to head against the Bristol night race, but you could TiVo the night race and DVR it and come on out and enjoy some great racing action. But you got a unique event with this weekend coming up with Watkins Glen being so late on the schedule.
Yep.
It's going to be an interesting show. I think that it opens the door wide open for SVG to get another win there in the Xfinity car. He's supposed to run the Cup car too there at the Glen. So that'll be fun to watch him wheel the Cup car and the Xfinity car. But that is the, that's going to be a wild card. Then you got Bristol on a Saturday night. The Bristol, Bass Pro Shops night race. It's one of those, I wouldn't say it's necessarily a crown jewel, so to speak, but it's a race that everybody wants to win. Especially, it's the ones that you can just mention something simple. You say 500, about the Daytona 500.
Yep.
You mentioned the 600, and that you don't call it the Coca-Cola 600. You call it the Southern 500. You're boom right there with Southern 500. It's an event there at Bristol coming up in a couple of weeks where it's just called the Bristol Night Race. Because that's what it's all about. I think the fact that it stayed a cutoff race in the NASCAR playoffs, I think is good. I hope it stays there for a hot minute. And I think it's good. It's good for the sport. I think the last couple of races they had after the Olympic break, Daytona was good. I thought it was outstanding to have Darlington there as the regular season finale. And you've got some shaking up to do there at Atlanta. So, we mentioned it before, this Rockingham deal with the trucks and the Xfinity series pulling a doubleheader Easter weekend, Easter Saturday. What the tracks have done is that Darlington proved that if you build it, or if you fill it, they will come. That's how Darlington was able to get a second race date back on the calendar, because the Southern 500 was damn near sold out, and that spring race, the 400, the Goodyear 400, was damn near sold out. Same thing with Atlanta. Remember when Atlanta was going to get kicked off the schedule and they were only going to run one race a year, and then they ended up getting two. And granted, yes, the race came from Kentucky because of all that legal stuff happening in Kentucky, but those race fans showed up and showed out at Atlanta, especially now that it's a mile and a half super speedway. So that's definitely changed a lot, but it has the opportunity to be great. So, Rockingham's going to be a race that people's got to have race weekend. People going to have circled on their calendars, because that is a pretty damn big deal to get Rockingham back on one of the big three schedules there in 2025.
Yeah, and I think kind of with the whole Atlanta thing, where they finally figured out, and maybe a lot of it was, with the configuration change and everything that happened right there. I think what finally happened was that they scheduled those races at a better time, and that's the hardest part of all of this. I think that we have, in our spot right here, when it comes to COTA, I think that's March 2nd of next year. It's going to be cold. It's probably going to get rained on, but I will say that that's going to maybe hurt the crowd count. But if you're going to have a rainy race, that's a race to have it, because you can put the rain tires on and do whatever you're going to do. And that's why I think that they finally got Atlanta right. And for Darlington, in my opinion, I mean, look, when we came out of the pandemic, where did we start? We started there. As it should have been. And that it really seems like those races are getting to be, good again. And the speedway races, all of that, I mean, that's all really good. I happen to think, and I'm sure I'm in the minority, literally, that the Mexico City thing is going to be the biggest race of the year next year with Chicago and all that. And this goes to my whole point about where people, I'm not sure we were going down this road, but to the whole thing, to where it's like NASCAR sucks, there's nobody going or whatever. They're about to take this product to Mexico City and blow the doors off of every admission of every other track. And that just kind of tells you where NASCAR's at. And that's on both sides, Bobby. That's fans here don't give a damn. The sanctioning body, with the car and the product and all of that. And now we've got the, 2311 doesn't want to sign the charter thing and all of that. It's about to be a really interesting time. And I really hope that nobody goes renegade and tries to do something on their own, because we're still watching IndyCar after 1979, 80, wherever it is. They've split 2 or 3 times and they still can't get their shit straight. So family-owned business. I said that the other day on one of my shows. I'm like, the Francis NASCAR, they control everything. They control all the money. They control all of that. And I don't know, man. It's an interesting time. I just think, here's what I think. Bold prediction. The NASCAR championship this year at Phoenix is going to be decided by something questionable. Whether it be a wreck, a bad call, a caution for overtime, whatever, that would only be plausible to end the season.
But as crazy as this season's been, as crazy as this season's been, I don't think that's too far fetched. Especially when you had a caution the other day for at Atlanta for a damn sign.
Walmart sign.
Yeah. Walmart banner blew on the racetrack, blew off of one of the holders and blew on the racetrack. So I think you're right about this Mexico City thing. You're right. If the people in the States don't want it, NASCAR's not dumb. They're going to take it to the places where people want it. That's why you're going to be in Mexico City in 2025. That's why you're going to be in Montreal. Or I don't know why they don't go to Ron Fella's place, Canadian Tire Motorsports Park, the old Mosport place. They need to be in Canada. I think they're just trying too hard to get to Montreal. I think you could run it. I think you could run at Ron Fella's Canadian Tire place and be just fine. But the only thing the only part of the 2025 schedule that pissed me off the most is they took the Xfinity Series from Darlington on Labor Day weekend and moved it to Portland. That to me was a bad move, because you take away. That's why they added Rockingham. I get that. You got rid of Darlington for that race weekend, and you gave them a race weekend, Easter weekend, and Rockingham, because they're pretty damn close together. I've been to both racetracks; they're less than an hour apart. I get that, but I still think it's not a good thing to take away anything from Darlington on Labor Day weekend, whether it's trucks, Xfinity, or Cup cars. They learned that mistake. They made that mistake once when they moved Labor Day weekend to California, and then they saw how successful the Southern 500 was back on Labor Day weekend. So I was disappointed and a little pissed that they moved the Xfinity race from Labor Day weekend to Portland. But maybe I'll be wrong. Maybe it'll be the barn burner race of the year up there in the Xfinity Series.
Well, but the whole thing is you got to get people there. I mean, it can be the best race of them all, but if there's nobody there, I mean, and the whole thing with Rockingham, I mean, we've seen this before. And what you're gonna run into right there with going back to Rockingham, and I don't know schedules for anybody else right now in North Carolina. But what's going to happen is you're probably going to have, short track. I mean, whether it be a Cars Tour event or whoever it may be that may be within proximity there. And they're going to draw the allure of whatever fans that may want to, they don't care about trucks or Xfinity. I mean, they want to go see that. And I think that's where and I honestly don't think, Bobby, that Cup fixes that either. I mean, because so many people are soured on that to where they'd rather go to a, Cars Tour. That's the only one that comes to mind. But for the Rockingham people, you've been asking for this. I mean, you're getting it right here. Go out there, like we say, show up and show out, and here's your chance, because I mean, this is like a broken record. This has been tried before. It's just somebody else that has put money into this track, reinvested, getting this thing going once again. And it's all up to the fans. It's all up to the fans. If you want that old school effect, I mean, you need to go there. You need to go there. If the race sucks, go there and be like, okay, well, it was neat being there. I love the nostalgia. And here's the other part. If you get another race, show up for that one too, because we see that one all the time. First race, yeah, San Antonio. Can't get in the place. Second race, ain't nobody there.
Yeah, I think my grandmother lives 5 miles from Rockingham Speedway, just outside of Rockingham in a little town called Hamilton, North Carolina. Rockingham itself is not very big. It is a very tiny market. There's a reason why NASCAR left in the early 2000s when it was getting way, way too big.
Yep.
And they took it to other markets like Chicago and California and Texas and other places like that.
Yeah.
There's a reason why they left that small town market. Now, granted, Darlington's not any bigger. In fact, Darlington's probably even smaller than Rockingham, but you don't have the allure of the Southern 500, and you have a hell of a lot of history at Rockingham. You really do. They've run a lot of races at Rockingham, but you don't have the history and the nostalgia that you have at Darlington. There's not the North Carolina Sports Rider Hall of Fame underneath the grandstands at Rockingham. That Hall of Fame is underneath the grandstands at Darlington. So there's a hell of a lot more nostalgia there for Darlington, and they showed up and they showed out for those races. That's why there's 2 on the schedule. I think the race in Rockingham has potential to be big, but they've also done it before where they came through and it becomes a challenge. We saw the first truck race they came back on the old pavement. That race was fantastic. It was great. Photo finish between Casey Kane and somebody else. And then the next race, not hardly anybody there. Kyle Larson wins that race, or vice versa. They only were able to run 2 times because they showed up the first time and then they dragged ass the second time and they said, sorry. No different. The NASCAR stuff is no different than any local short track. If they don't show up, you're going to go somewhere else or you're going to go out of business. It's just that damn simple.
Yep. No doubt. Well said, my man. Personal text from my friend, our friend, Deborah Brusso, that says all race car whores have their condoms, aka fire suit, at all times. And she says, haha.
That's true. All the good one. Every once in a while, you take your protection to the racetrack with you.
I always carry my protection. Kind of like what JD was talking about. It's always with me. I always have that thing ready to slip on. My race car condom or racetrack condom, race car condom, whatever you want to call it. I always have it. And it fits still.
That's good.
It's been a fun show. I think that young kid at the beginning, first segment, he is going to be something really spectacular. I cannot wait to watch him at Indianapolis. That's going to be fun.
It's going to be fun, especially with the race being on Flow Racing. You talk about the best of the best showing up. And the best of the best showing up to be at a racetrack. That BC39, there's a hell of a lot of talent out from all over coming to race that thing. Sprint cars, non-wing sprint cars, 600s, all kind of stuff. If you're a heavy hitter in open wheel racing, you're going to be at the BC39 at Indianapolis Motor Speedway Turn 2.
You ain't never lying. Alex Karpowicz joining us from Spring Branch, Smithson Valley Rangers. Really good conversation right there. We'll have to get him back on. Jennifer Ashlin talking about the San Antonio race reunion. That's going to be a really cool thing. Hopefully we'll get some folks out there, get some run right there. Ray Allen Kulhanek joining us as well after his big win at KRP in the limited modifieds. And, of course, JD Legg checking in as, speaking of having that driving suit with you, he put on his racing condom, and there he goes. There he goes to victory lane.
Well, as it should be. The hot shoe that nobody knows about.
The hot shoe. All right, my man, rest of the week for you, my brother. It's going to be cooler around here, only in the mid-90s. I'm kind of digging this early morning weather. Yeah,
a little cooler this week. It means it'll be a little less hot for the ass whooping that I'm going to witness at DKR on Saturday. I won't be able to make it to Cotton Bowl Speedway, but looking forward to make it there for the Oktoberfest show they have coming up at the end of the year. But, just trying to stay caught up like normal. This is that season where it's so hard to balance between racing and college football. You and I are both deeply involved with college football, both from a media and from a fan standpoint. That trying to balance out this whole racing thing and this whole college football thing becomes a challenge this time of the year until it starts ironing out. Luckily, we'll have some breaks in there both ways. So, we'll get a chance to have some fun. Like I said, I'm disappointed that I can't make it to the race reunion, but I'm really happy Texana's got a second date to close out the season on October 5th.
Saturday was fun. And I got the best of both worlds on Saturday. Really cool thing right there, doing all of that. Shane Pretty, we will leave with that. Never leave home without a suit. Milton Hope, your PA man at the Alamo Dome, says, thank goodness I have CBS. He is not going to San Marcos, or not going to San Marcos, not going to DKR. He's going to go make money.
He gonna make money. I'm gonna spend money. So
you're gonna lose money, my man. You are going to lose money. Just don't bet on him. Don't bet on him. Well,
they used to cover all the time. They don't cover no more.
I don't know about this one. Don't know about this one.
I take the over. It's only 34.5 points. I take the over.
I don't know. Ask me on Thursday and we'll see what's going on then. All right, you guys, thank you all for being a part of the program. Glad to be back on a Monday Night Football. Apparently it's not that big a deal because a lot of people are watching. So that's what it's all about. And that's why we do this. And that's why we're doing it this damn long.
And I didn't realize that we would be missed with as many other shows that are out there that, since we're the show that started it all, I thought we wouldn't be missed for 1 week, but apparently I was wrong.
And Bobby, this has to be for you, I'm thinking. The comment right there, it looks like it's on the YouTube feed. Some cool setup behind you, my man. Cool setup behind you. It's got to be.
I bought some more stuff this weekend to put on the shelf. I just got to get some stuff moved around and fit some more stuff on there.
Nice. Very, very nice. All right, guys, we are back next Monday. We'll do it all over again. We'll have great guests. And like Bobby said, we know there are lots of alternatives out there, lots of other shows every day of the week. But we are so glad that you continually, is that a word? Continually check in here. Continuously check in here on Mondays as you have since 2017. We've been doing it that long.
The original show that started it all, still one of the best. At least in my humble opinion. Anyway.
The best. It is #Real Race Talk from Texas. We are nationwide. Thank you all for being a part of it. This is the Revved Up Sports Show. We'll see you next Monday, 6:30 p.m. Central, 7:30 Eastern, and 2 hours otherwise if you're on the left coast, which we know people are. Bobby's down south. I'm up north. We'll see you at a racetrack soon. If you can't find a racetrack, find a streamer and enjoy short track racing. Have a great week, everybody.